Okay, welcome back. It is another Friday. I am excited to bring you one of my dream guests. His name is Troy Blyden. He does a number of things, and I was just telling him that I have been practicing saying Harlem Globe Trotter. I cannot say that any faster than that, or it's offensive. So I'm happy to bring you Troy. I'm going to let him give some of his background. Whatever you want to share with the audience, please do so.
Well, thank you for having me, first of all. And yeah, I'm not, like she said, I'm with the Harlem Globetrotters, and I'm actually on the team that plays against them, but it's all one organization. So I play with the Washington Generals, and we travel all around the world and entertain families and kids, and it's a really good time. But I design clothes. This is one of my shirts I made. It says imperfect, or I'm perfect, however you want to read it. And it's basically the balance between confidence and humility, because that's really what I'm big on, is, teaching people to be more confident in their voice and, just who they are. And yeah, and I have a podcast as well with my two friends. It's called Paid Day Off Podcast. You can check it out on YouTube. And dang, I didn't want to start with plugging all my stuff, but yeah.
No. I mean, it's good to get it out, right?
Yeah, I like creating stuff. That's pretty much it.
So okay, why, as the team that plays against the Globers,
the Trotters,
the Trotters. Yeah, I can say that. The Trotters.
There you go.
As the team that plays against them, is it just about setting them up? Is it a real game, or because I've actually never seen one?
Yeah. Well, it's definitely a real game, but it's a show at the end of the day. So it's not going to be like your typical NBA game where you're going to see, the Cavs versus the Golden State Warriors,
Okay, love the Raptors.
It's every time it's the Globetrotters versus the Generals. And it's you basically, without saying too much, I will just say, do your research on the Globetrotters, and, you will ask your parents about them, and they'll be able to tell you.
Well, because I know it's supposed to be more interactive and a show and everything. Yeah. And I just it wasn't until you just discussed the opposing team aspect that I was oh yeah, I guess I never really thought about that there is an opposing team. I just imagine everybody out there just doing really cool things and being really, did you just give me a thumbs up?
No.
Oh, yeah, thumbs up for you. I like that. And so, I thought I'm oh, he's cheering me on for.
You're doing a good job, though.
Thank you. So, I know that everybody is probably their first thought is, how did you become a general?
Yeah. So it's kind of a long story, so I'll compact it into a few sentences. Basically, I was missing basketball, because I played in college. I've played since I was 9 years old. So after college, I tried to pursue overseas basketball, professional in Europe. And that was a year and a half after I graduated. So, I had to get back into shape, and it was because I was missing the game.
Yeah.
So that didn't really work out. And then, my dad knew somebody who used to be a Trotter, and he basically told me to hit him up because I had coached for his AAU team years before. So I hit him up and I said, yo, I would love to have an opportunity to, travel with you guys or whatever I can get, And he was like, yeah, sure. Send in some film. I did that. And then he put me in contact with the team. And then in a week, I was at a tryout, and the rest is history. So
that's awesome.
So yeah, now since then I've been to I want to say 10 countries.
Oh,
and,
nice.
Yeah, countless number of states. And that's since February 2019.
Nice.
So, yeah.
You're a baby. How old are you?
I'm 27.
Oh yeah. Oh my goodness, you're so young. I love it. I don't want to toot my own horn here, but in middle school I did make the first point in my championship game in basketball.
Okay.
So I know a thing or two when it comes to dribbling the b-ball. No, I did play basketball for a little while, but I ended up playing volleyball in college. So I do resonate. George Mason. Actually,
okay. George Mason. Yeah, I know George Mason.
You know what's a bummer? I wanted to go Big Ten. But I was so not sure if I would get a full ride, like the same level of offer I got from GMU, that I signed in the first period to what was guaranteed. And that's like my one regret in life. Like I wish I would have like been like, you know what, Sarah, like you can do it. Like you wait for the right offer from the right team. Like you can like, yeah. But I was so convinced. I was like, I don't think I'll get it like this. I just need to like take what I have. And I just, like, do you have any regrets in your life?
I don't like to call them regrets, uh, but there definitely are some things that obviously looking back, like I would have done them differently with the knowledge I have now.
Mhm.
But I wouldn't have it any other way. But something like looking back, I would definitely um, work on my skills more in college and within basketball, like basketball practice and stuff like that, because a lot of the time, I wasn't focused on basketball. And other than that, just like having complete confidence in myself and going 100% in on whatever my passion was at the
Yeah.
time, or whatever got me excited.
Yeah.
Because like when you're young, I'm still young, but when you have less responsibilities, when you're a kid, it's like you want to double down on those passions and really pursue them, because then it can just blossom into what they call a job, but it
Yeah.
doesn't even feel like work.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. And so why the clothing brand? Like what made
Yeah.
you get into this mindset of I want to spread the message that like imperfect is not bad and you can still feel like, I mean, well, I don't want to put words into your mouth about the brand itself, but like, yeah, like
You
what
got
made you get into this?
So I've been into fashion and clothes my whole life. Like my mom, she works in the modeling industry, so that's just always been a part of my life. My dad, he used to work in the music industry, so it's all interconnected. So as a kid, I was always inspired by people like Pharrell and Kanye West and just these fashion icons in my eyes. And I was always like wearing different colors and different styles. So like I always wanted to I knew I wanted to do something with clothes. And a couple years ago, I made some shirts and started up a little brand. And it didn't really, it didn't like it manifested into what I wanted it. And then I just stopped it because I didn't have any more vision for it. Like it was just that was it. So I ended that, and I continued to have ideas and write them down. And I knew I wanted to continue to make clothes one day. So um there was just this one idea that stuck with me, and because I write down any idea I come up with that I think could be worth something, not monetarily, but just like
Yeah.
something I could turn into, I could materialize. So imperfect just stuck with me, and I knew I wanted to make something that wasn't just clothes. It wasn't just a design. It wasn't just like, all right, I'm gonna put a picture on a shirt or a drawing on a shirt. I wanted it to be like something meaningful, because
Mm.
anybody could slap something on a shirt and sell it, but I wanted to have like meaning and a message behind it. So yeah, that's basically it. I took imperfect and I just ran with it. And that was
Um,
I only started making shirts for this in like July.
oh, I
And
like it. Well,
yeah.
because I mean, I saw T-Pain wearing your shirt, right?
So so funny story. That wasn't like actually him wearing it. It was like
I was like, dang, he is
yeah.
just
So
marketing real well.
yeah, so there's the story behind that is I saw this post that my friend, she's actually a trotter, funny enough. I saw her repost this thing with T-Pain, and then it had the quote underneath, and I was like, oh, that's dope. Like I want to repost that. But then I saw it and I was just like the next morning I woke up and I was like, oh, that's the same color of the shirt I just dropped. I was like, I'm gonna put my logo on
Yeah.
there and see what it looks like. It'll look cool. And I just did it. I wasn't trying to like trick anybody or make them
Yeah,
think
yeah.
like, oh, he got my shirt on. But yeah, I just posted it, and then everybody was thinking it was like T-Pain wore it.
Yeah.
And it turned into like a social experiment to like see how people react. Because I just didn't say anything. I just left it as it was.
Yeah.
To this day, I didn't talk about it. I just left it.
Left it. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just funny how people react when they think it's like somebody with status is wearing something.
That's like back when because I used to have a lot more followers than I do right now. Not like, you know, mega influencer status, but I used to have more followers. And then, but I remember like getting from like 9,000 to like the 10K, because you only get the K when you have 10, right? And or it used to be at least. And I just remember like trying to get like over that threshold, because I would be like 10K 9997, 10K 999, so like, and then when I officially had like the K, my follower count just like jumped. And I was laughing, I'm like, it's just like people, I think people, they see the K and they just assume that there's something worth it, so then they just like follow you even though they don't know what the F you're talking about or doing. Like, it is like a little bit of a social experiment. Social media is always such an experiment. Like, it's, I don't know, I find it fascinating. But
Yeah, I agree.
so I know with the work that you do, the podcast and the your brand, um you and I've researched your Instagram, you know, like you seem to be a very passionate person. And I'm gonna go off on a limb here and say that you seem to be someone who wants to like show up or give back. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, tell me, like, what are some ways that you actively either show up for other people or give back right now?
Well, recently I went to this middle school here in Florida. It's they had an American teach-in, you know, where they have different people from different career paths, and they come and speak to the kids.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
my friend who does the podcast with me, Leroy, his aunt works for the middle school, and she asked if he had anybody else he wanted to bring, and he invited me. And then that was like one of the most fulfilling experiences I've had in a while. And I just got to go and talk about my shirts and the message behind them, and just tell them what I do, and just preach that message of confidence and humility, and just to get all the feedback from the kids, saying how it really impacted them, and they're gonna try to live their lives with that message in their mind. That was really really fulfilling. So that's one way. Just talking to kids, and I have a lot of kids in my family, so just like talking to them, like my cousins and my brother, my sisters, um, and just like, yeah, just trying to spread positivity in whatever way I can, and not just with my words of saying, oh, you need to do this, you should think like this. Like, no, just leading by example, just like living with passion and not being afraid to express my passion for certain things. Because I think a lot of, especially kids, middle school, it's like you might be a little hesitant to express your passions because you don't think it's cool, or like you're afraid other people won't think it's cool.
Yeah.
But you realize when you get older, you just realize it doesn't matter at all. Like,
Yeah.
people aren't worried. I was just saying today on my story, like, people are more worried about themselves than they are you. So like, they're gonna see you say something, and they might have their opinion on it, and then they're just gonna scroll and go about their day. So like,
I, like, I've had friends who, because I used to be a personal trainer, and I have had friends who are like, how do I even get started in the gym? And I'm like, dude, remember, like, the number one thing is no one is really paying attention to you. Like, even if someone looks at you, then they almost immediately forget about you because they're just focused on themselves. I'm like, no one really cares, like, so just go in, do you, like, whatever works for you. I'm a really big proponent of like vulnerability begets vulnerability, and empathy begets vulnerability. So when you talk to the youth, what do you share with them so that they know, like, having the type of confidence and the type of vision and passion that you have is something that they also can manifest in their own lives?
well, I really stress to them that I don't have it all figured out. Like, and the fact that even though I may seem a lot older than them, I'm not old.
Yeah.
A lot of, when you're in middle school, it's like you think, oh, 27, like, that's old. You're almost 30. You're old. But it's like, you know, you said you're older than me. You're probably like, yo, like, it's the same. Like, you get older and you get wiser, but you still, if you stay in touch with that inner child, like, you're still the same person. So I just try to be very relatable to them, so
Mhm.
they can understand my message more clearly and realize that I'm not talking at them. It's not like an older person like telling them what to do and how to live their life. So yeah, I mean, I tell them when I went to this one middle school, I just basically told them my story like I just did you. I explained the message behind my shirts and just that you can take different avenues in your life. It doesn't just have to be go to school, get a job, do whatever. Like, you know, you can use your passion to, especially in the world we live in today. It's like you have social media, like we connected on Instagram, you know, there's that the possibilities are endless. So you can take your passion and turn it into something real that can support your life and impact others. Because I think it's like, you know, if you have something to say, it's almost like it's selfish to not share it because it's like you never
Right.
know who's going to see it and be impacted by it. More
Yes.
people are probably going to see it and just be like, all right, whatever. But that one person where you plant a seed in their head, it's like, you know, that can, and you don't even have to know about it.
Oh yeah.
But that's just like karma, you know? So, you know, it's, yeah, that's just what I'm about. I don't have it
I
all figured out. I'm living this human experience with everybody else. So, yeah.
I used to use my Instagram for just like fitness accountability. And then when I started getting more followers, I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'll like post like workout like videos and photos and I don't know what else. And then I slowly started sharing about my struggle and my journey with depression. Because I was kind of I at the time I had started rationalizing to myself that maybe God wasn't giving me this situation because he was like, haha, like, you know, suck it, you know, which may be an aggressive way to vocalize God. But, you know, like it's not like he was doing that. I started being like, you know, maybe he's having me go through this just so people know like, hey, I'm climbing this mountain too, right? You know, and so I started sharing it because I was like, well, if it's not 100% just my story, it's selfish for me to not talk about it. And also it's counterintuitive to this belief I have now decided, right? Because at the time there was no real indication from like God of like, yeah, I want you to just talk about your depression all over the place. Like just go with it. It was just like, hopefully this isn't like a punishment. I don't even know, right? And so it's exactly what you said. Like there are so many examples of people who, you know, a year later would be like, hey, you know, I just want to let you know that a year ago I started reading some of your posts about mental health and I just didn't really think that you seemed depressed. And then when you talk about it, it made me feel like less alone, you know? And I always try to remind myself that whatever I do, even if I only have one person who listens to this podcast or one person who follows me online or one person who works with me, if I am able to have a positive impact, maybe that's all I'm really here for. Like maybe I was just supposed to intersect that one person. And the hope is that obviously I intersect and impact more. But what if it is just one person? And like what I like to say to like really hype myself is like, what if like the one person I intersect is like a future Hitler and I stop him? Like, you know, but that's a lot of pressure and also like, you know, not necessary. Also I hope that there's never ever another Hitler. But like in your work with like your brand, what are some examples that you've seen of um like what kids need or what other people like how other people desire for people to show up for them?
Well, with kids, I think it is very important that adults talk to them and not at them so much
Mhm.
because we've all been kids before. And I think when you get older, a lot of people, they forget what it's like to be a kid and like feel like everybody's just telling you what to do and all this. Like, I think children, they still need authority. They still need to, you know, learn discipline and stuff like that, but they also need to feel understood. And and that's just speaking from experience as a kid who a lot of times didn't feel understood and didn't and felt like adults were talking to me and like not telling me that not showing me really how to believe in myself, just telling me you need to believe in yourself, you need to do this, you have all this ability, you can do, like, nah, you got to lead by example and show me the way, like, you know. And not everybody's the same. Different kids learn differently, but I know that would have helped me. So I feel that I'm really good at kind of analyzing the way people are and um and kind of how they can be how they can excel. Like for example, if you're a coach, you can't coach every one of your players the same way.
Mhm.
You have to learn the players' personalities and stuff like that. Uh, so yeah, I think it's the same with human relationships. You gotta know how to talk to people, and you can't, like, some people might not be motivated by you screaming in their face, but
Mhm.
some people some people are. Some people you need to sit down and like be a little bit more empathetic and like talk to them and like, you know. So so yeah, that's, I don't know if that answers your question, but
No, yeah. Well, and
yeah.
that it makes me more curious. So you've shared now like your journey with like confidence and now, how you struggled with it when you were younger. Can you elaborate a little bit more? Like what do you think was missing or what was taking place that you just didn't have that confidence?
It's a good question. I think part of it has to do with the environment I was raised in. Not that it was a bad environment, but just the fact that I was uh my my parents, they were never married. They split up when I was like 2. My
Mhm.
mom married. She married someone. That man raised me from age like 2 to 17. So I always had a father figure in my life. But then my dad, he was always in my life as well. But he was in New York, and like it just got kind of weird at times. Like they had problems at times, and
Mhm.
it was like a weird dynamic to come up in, and like hearing different sides to different stories. It was kind of weird, and it was different. Like, also, I actually never really spoken about this, but I think my mom, she kind of held my hand a little bit too much when I was a kid, like babied me a little bit too much, and that kind of held me back and made me kind of too codependent on her
Yeah.
opinion and her advice,
Yeah.
rather than just kind of pushing me off into the pool and like, yo, figure it out. Like,
Yeah.
I'm here if you need me, but like, go figure it out. Because
Yeah.
I think that is so important. And that's I don't blame her for that. I was her first kid. She was young, so but yeah, that's definitely something that I think affects a child's confidence. It kind of tells them that I don't really believe in you. I'm gonna help you
That's
with
true.
all this stuff. I'm gonna help you because I don't think you can do it by yourself. You need me. That's the way I see it.
No, that is
So
true.
I don't think parents mean it that way, but that's the way that a child is interpreting it, like, subconsciously. So so yeah, that's it.
I actually just posted kind of about that like your fears have to remain your own, because if you try to like project them or like duplicate them or whatever, it's usually done out of like, I love you, so I just want to protect you. But like sometimes when we have fears that we don't even know about and we like project them, and I'm 100% obviously not saying this about your mom, but like just the general aspect of like parenting or showing up for someone, like sometimes when we have fears that we haven't confronted and then we will imply it or say it to someone who's impressionable or young or whatnot, we displace it onto them without really even recognizing that we did it. Like I guess like a good example would be um like so to share, because again I love, like I said, vulnerability begets vulnerability, so I love sharing. Like my parents are divorced, right? And I my dad had moved out and I was hearing differing opinions on what took place. And I know that I started having this belief that I didn't even recognize I was holding on to, that it doesn't really matter how you show up as like a wife, doesn't matter how you show up for your husband, doesn't matter what you sacrifice or what you do. It doesn't even matter if it's been 20 something years. Like he's probably just going to leave. So get ready for that, right? And it was something that I would gently imply in conversation with my female friends. Like, I mean, but it's something I didn't even recognize I was nurturing, like a little seed, like, and I didn't even really realize I was nurturing it. And then also kind of like living it. Like, like I was almost looking for guys who I could predict things because, like, you know, that you know how that's going to work out, as opposed to the guy that potentially would be around for like 20 something years or forever. So it is like it's funny how the older we get, we're not only able to have more confidence in ourselves in terms of learning who we are or the power that we hold, which is a really, really big thing. But also just like the little things that we keep that we don't realize were like passed on, or little seed was thrown and then like it was planted or whatnot. I really love you sharing like about the parent dynamic and everything and how that may have affected your confidence. I'm curious, like, are there any other ways that you saw or that you now have grown into being like, this is how I want to show up based off of past experiences?
This is how I want to show up. What do you mean? Just in my everyday life?
Yeah, I mean, whether it's with family, friends, partners, in your everyday life, like what were there any things that kind of planted in you at an earlier age that you're like, you know what, I'm not going to interact that way. Like I want to show up in this way.
Right. Yeah. I mean, to go back to like making people feel understood. That's my big thing. Is like, I'm an empath at the end of the day. Like that's uh, you just want to make people feel understood, and it's
Mhm.
not about people liking you. Like I'm past that. I used to like try to make everybody like me and stuff. Not make everybody, but hope that everybody likes me.
Yeah.
Everybody liked, But but I'm past that, and now it makes me feel good to know that somebody else feels understood and that they are feeling that they can be vulnerable and they can be themselves. So rather than people liking me, I would just rather they feel that they can be themselves around me.
I like that.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And I don't know a specific thing that I do to try to make people feel that way. I guess I try to listen. I try not to cut people off when they're speaking. I try to like intentionally listen to what they're saying. Um, you might think otherwise if you watch my podcast. We've been friends for like freaking like since 2009. So like we cut each other off a lot. We scream at each other. It's different. But yeah, at the end of the day, that's that's how I feel about that.
So, I obviously you went from younger, feeling a little like misunderstood or um maybe like not fully seen, not fully heard. I'm just like throwing things out there. I'm not saying it's true. And then now you're in a space where you have like all the confidence, still working on it. What would you say?
I mean, definitely a work in progress, but at the end of the day, like I'm a confident person. Like I don't care as much. Like I just don't I don't fear embarrassment as much anymore. Like, yeah, I don't think I'm Superman, but I just don't really care. I'm not afraid to be myself and like show myself and you know, tell people what I'm interested in, like what makes me excited and like passionate. Yeah. I just am who I am, whatever.
I think that being that type of person, like the whole confidence thing is a really awesome form of like what I just said, stepping into your power, right? Like because the power of your existence, it can spread like wildfire, really. And like I think that people really, especially in this day and age where there's millions of people on earth, well, billions, and then there's so many people online, so many people who have a podcast, so many people who have clothing brands, so many people, you know what I mean? Like we feel as if it's easy to feel as if your voice has zero impact. You're yelling into the wind, right? So like um I think that there is something really, really special when someone realizes that their voice has meaning, like their existence has meaning. And I tell this to clients, but I tell it to everybody, like, uh, you being here, there's no way to tell exactly what you said, like what impact you have. But if you are on this planet, like you have one, like it's for sure. You just may not know. Like I just went to the Van Gogh exhibit here in Denver, and I always forget that he only sold one painting during his life. And it wasn't even Starry Night, right? Like which is the one like everybody is like, oh yeah, Van Gogh. But like, I just couldn't imagine the like level of commitment and conviction to his art where like day in and day out no one is buying your work, but you're like, no, this is why I was put on this earth, you know, like, and he 100% probably was like, I mean, I could just like fall off a cliff and like no one would probably even notice. But like, and then the idea that he is this like he's Van Gogh. Like we all know Van Gogh 100 years after he died, you know, like I'm kind of curious now that like I'm talking myself into points, but like I'm kind of curious, what is the one thing that you want to be known for on this earth, past understanding others, but like what is like that impact?
I honestly do not care what I'm known for. I just want to, I just want, I'll say this. I think it's cool for people to see me and be like, oh, he's being himself. Other than that, I don't care because like everybody's going to have their own perception of me. Everybody's going to say, look at my post and say, oh, he's full of himself, or oh, he's cool, or oh, I don't like it. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
People are, I don't care what I'm known for because it's like with Van Gogh, it's like he's dead. So it doesn't even matter what we think. His art is great, but it's like while he was here, people they fronted on him. They didn't really, he didn't get the love, so yes, I don't really care because once you're dead, you're dead. Like, yeah, sure, your legacy can live on, but that doesn't excite me. I don't really care about that. I don't care about like being famous and like all that. Like, I just think it's cool to impact people positively. I don't need all the acclaim and all that. So
what does excite you?
Music, exercise, like staying fit, film. I love movies and TV and stuff like that. I love like pop culture and like entertainment and stuff like that. Design, like clothing. Just I'm like a pop culture like 90s baby. Like that's what I came up on. That's what I love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you have, is Imperfect the brand, is it going to be expanding, or do you think that you may allow it to run through the vision you have and then adjust yourself to something else like you did with your previous brand?
Well, no, I think this is something I'm sticking with, and I have plenty of other designs that I will do in the future, but this is what I'm focusing on right now. This is the message I want to get out there. I really it's one of those things where like every time I wear this shirt, somebody stops me and they're like, oh, like I like that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Be like, oh, I designed this. You can get it on here. So it's just it's one of those things that's really sticking right now.
Yeah.
So I just believe in not trying to rush out all your ideas. Like just have confidence in them that they'll manifest in the future, and just if you got one that's working, like stick with it.
Yeah. And so I don't even think I actually got like the full message of the brand. So can you share that?
Yeah. Well, the slogan, I guess you could say, is the imperfect is the balance between confidence and humility. So basically, you can read it both ways. As imperfect, which would be the humility part, and then the I'm perfect is the confidence. Obviously, nobody's perfect, but we all have imperfections that we should embrace, and that in turn makes you perfect in a sense. So that's really, I think that's one of those messages that like everybody can understand and relate to. I know they say you should try to like niche down and like try to target a certain niche if you're selling a product, which is true to a certain extent, but some messages are just universal.
Yeah. And
I believe this is one of them. So yeah, that is the message. It's mostly confidence and like and just really getting people to not overthink or overanalyze anything that they're insecure about or that they're self-conscious about. It's just like nobody's paying attention to your little insecurities or your little you're self-conscious, like whatever you're self-conscious about. Like, come on. Everybody has them. Like,
yeah.
I'm thinking about mine, you're thinking about yours. Like, nobody cares.
I mean, I don't know what you talk about. I look very cute in this red shirt. So like,
You
like,
look great. You look great.
oh, thank you. Thank you. The lighting, so, okay. You have, cause this is important. We have covered when you were younger, we've covered you confident now. There's obviously a transition period.
Mhm.
And obviously you had to show yourself grace when you weren't being perfect and learning to have that confidence and stepping into like your power and everything. So like, what are some things that you did? Because if someone's listening to this right now and they're like, yeah, I mean, I'm struggling so much with my confidence, like, and I keep putting myself down, or I keep getting in my own way. What are some things that you did to help build that confidence within yourself, to get yourself to that space where you're like, yeah, I don't give a crap what anybody thinks?
Yeah. Uh, so a lot of reading, a lot of meditation, and I don't want to promote any type of like drug use or anything, but I did partake in some psychedelic experiences that yeah, that
I should tell you, there's no self-editing on this podcast, so you can
okay.
say whatever you want.
Yeah. Well, I dabbled in yeah, I had a really powerful experience that changed a lot in my life. And this was last November.
Now,
Um,
can you say
yeah,
it or no?
what? Oh,
Like
like what
what?
it was?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was psilocybin mushrooms. Like
Okay. I know. I mean,
yeah.
I know. Like Denver is. I think they're decriminalizing
Hmm.
mushrooms, and yeah, like go ahead. I have a friend who
Yeah.
is like, Sarah, you need to do mushrooms, and I'm just like, but the dare program, like so
Yeah.
no, go ahead. So like last
Yeah.
November you did that.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm not promoting this to anybody. I think this
Yeah.
is something that you really need to like do your research on, and it
Yeah.
needs to like find you. This is not for me, it's not like some recreational thing that I think is like, oh, it's cool. You go like, nah. Um, but yeah, so last November, I my intention was really to kind of reach this like fake enlightenment in a way. Um there was a lot of things that I wasn't being honest about. I was in a relationship at the time. There was, it was just there was a lot going on. It was a long distance relationship. It was just a lot. And I had that experience, and then, you know, that relationship ended. I I literally transformed, like, my body, my priorities.
Yeah.
I wasn't really talking to anybody. I was just so focused. Like, I started working out, and my diet changed, and I just became so focused. Literally the next day, I was writing down ideas. I came up with a brand name. I was designing stuff. I scrapped that, but then Imperfect came a little bit after that, and yeah, it just really changed a lot. Changed the way that I organize things, organize my ideas, and the way I attack them. And it really broke that barrier, which was already the barriers were already beginning to break. But it really broke down that barrier of not caring about what I look like when I post something, or like how people are going to perceive me, because you just realize that it doesn't matter. Everybody, if you focus on everybody's perception of you, you're not going to get anything done, and you're
That's,
not even going to live. You're not even going to be yourself.
this is
You're
true.
going to live up to different people's expectations and stuff. So, yeah.
So I'm gonna pry a little bit. What is one thing that you realized you weren't being honest about with yourself?
Yeah. Just the fact that I knew deep down that I did not need to be in a relationship at the time. Like, I 100% knew.
Why?
And just because I'm not, how do I word this? I'm not in a place where I want to um be a unit with somebody,
Okay.
because I think that's what, in a sense, that's what a relationship is. You're like a
Yeah.
team. You feed off of each other. And I think relationships are beautiful. It's a great thing. I had a lot of beautiful moments, and that's just not where I need to be right now.
Yeah.
Simple as that. I'm really, I need to focus on Troy right now. I need to, get to a certain spot. And I don't think there's any perfect time to start a relationship or have a family, but right now it's not that time for me.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
you'll feel it. Well, I mean, and the only reason why I ask is because I love knowing like what people discover about themselves. I mean, that's literally what I do, right? But I think that you sharing like, you know, things that like, okay, I just like wasn't being honest about this, right? Like I think that it would probably be easy for someone to look at you and be like, okay, he's, you know, he travels, he has a cool job, his skin is very nice, your beard is very well lined. I'm actually
Thank,
like, I can't
thank you.
stop looking at it. I'm like, how do you do that? Like, but yeah, I mean, and I'm assuming that you're tall, you know, like good looking guy. So I assume that people probably look at you with this idea that either you were born with confidence or your journey through confidence, like getting to confidence was I was struggling. And then one day I looked in the mirror and then I was like, wow, I'm Troy. And then I was confident, you know, and it's like, I think that the reason why I love diving into that stuff is because of the fact that there's so much miscommunication on social media about what being honest with yourself looks like, or mental health looks like, or working through confidence looks like. We think that it's this like really fast journey, you know, like someone will post 5 weeks ago, like, man, I'm really struggling with depression. And then they're like, and now I feel like conquered it. Like, I'll tell you how. And there are a lot of people who are out there like, yeah, I mean, then why is
Buy
mine?
my course.
Yeah. You know, like, and so I like, and your social really feels as if you are this very honest, very open, able to confront and meet yourself, if that makes sense, type of person.
Mhm.
Which like sometimes we have like the first part, like the confronting, like, Sarah, why the F do you do this? But then meeting that person, like that's like, well, here's the reason. And you may not love it, but I think it's really awesome that you discovered that you're not in that position. You're Team Troy right now.
Word.
Um,
Yeah.
which like, I mean, how has like I mean I know like we've pretty much have been like touching on it, but like how has getting really self-focused, like how has that set you up for, do you have a vision for where your life, or like are you someone who plans 5 years down, or like this is what I would like to see taking place later on?
Yeah. So I've always struggled with having like a 5 or 10 year plan. I always thought it was kind of overrated,
Mhm.
but I mean, there is value in it, you know, but everybody's different. Um, I, I do have a vision of what I would like my life to look like. Um, and I try to do things every day to get towards that. And also realize that today is the best day of my life. So
Yeah.
it's like, you got to enjoy it right now as well, because you could work your ass off for 20 years and then get to a certain point and then you're like, oh, this is it. Like I
Yeah.
wasted years getting to this and this is not really, you know, like
Also,
I
I
was
mean,
happier before.
yeah, a thousand things can happen too that shift you off course that were 100, like not even in
Right.
your control
Right.
too. So
Yeah. So like I take a lot of pride in my health and really focusing on being the most effective person I can be. And it's never perfect. Like it's, you know, I have my ups and downs, but I have a lot of ups. So it's like, I don't know. And to go back to what you were saying before about like being a kid and kind of not being confident and then getting to a point where you are more confident. Like I don't want to like, all right, let's like I've always had a certain level of confidence. Like I was the kid who was wearing pink and yellow shoes in middle school and like
all right.
colors and just whatever. Like just because I thought it was cool. Like sure, I got made fun of by some people, but I still wore it because I thought it was cool. I just didn't care. But it was more so it wasn't I was never afraid to like be myself. I just had trouble in kind of like decision making and going with my gut. You know,
Okay.
I never had a problem with when it came to like artistic things and expressing myself. It was more so believing in my decisions in other areas of life. So so yeah, it's a process. It's a lifelong process. That's how I started though. I don't know how I got there.
Well, and I did say like the process of giving yourself grace, right? Where like when you're not perfect, or if you do get made fun of, or um making the wrong decision, or making a decision and it ends up not going the way you want. How did you show yourself grace for that, to like not allow it to like poo poo the whole process, but to move you forward?
I mean, just realizing that it's like you gotta you gotta make a decision somehow. So it's like you're either gonna be right or you're gonna be wrong. Like, you just gotta go. It's like you can't get hung up on, should I do this? Should I do that? Like, nah, just go with your gut. Every time I've gone with my gut, it's like I usually get a positive outcome. But if I don't, and I kind of worry about other people's opinions, and I ask around, oh, what should I do? Like then you kind of get this forced outcome that you're not really satisfied with.
I think that I was thinking about the idea of being honest with yourself, and I was, this was just all like kind of marinating. And I think that sometimes a lack of confidence can present as not being honest with yourself about the power you have as an individual, right? Like you are saying, I don't really know, like, but people, I like to listen, right? Maybe that's how I spread my positivity. And I know personally I struggled for a long time because I used to be a really big believer. And when I say used to, I mean like a week ago, I used to be a really big believer that I did not have the face of someone that you just approach and talk to. Like I thought I just had like RBF, and like people would start talking to me and I'm like what about my face says like talk to me in the grocery line, right? Like, but it happens all the time. People walking their dog and they stop and they just tell me crazy things about their lives, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess we're talking about this, so okay, here we are. And I and my friends were like, every time I say it, I'm like, I don't know why people just stop and talk to me, and they're like, dude, because you look friendly. And I'm like, no, I don't know if you see my face, but this is not a friendly face, right? But I have had to just accept that obviously, if we go statistically,
Right.
I must have a friendly face,
It's
right?
your body language too.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I just always am like, I'm just standing here, like being alive. But everybody's like, you feel like you're non-judgmental. And I'm like, well, that's good. But I
Mm.
just never thought I had a presence or an aura that said, talk to me. Like, I'm gonna listen, but then I always stand there and listen, like I always do. It always happens. But and so I like to believe that like me downplaying that is me downplaying the power I have to like make other people feel comfortable. And then also the power I have to just like be like a receptacle. Like maybe someone just needs to vent today, like, but by not owning it, I have less confidence in myself technically, because I'm like, man, that's not me. That's not me. Right. Like, and so I think that a lot of times people, when they're not honest about like, oh, I'm not, no, like, thanks for calling me cute, but I'm not cute, right? Like, I'm not cute. Like, it's sounding humble, but it really like I'm a really big proponent of like what you say, your heart and your mind hear. And
Yeah.
so, like, what, yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess
Yeah,
I'm
they
just
don't
like,
your mind doesn't you don't know the difference when you say something. It's like you might be joking, but your mind doesn't really know the difference.
yeah,
If you're like around, you're like, oh, I'm so stupid. Like you just told yourself you're stupid, and your body believes it. So it's
yeah.
like it's deep. It's deep.
It's,
But
and with,
yeah,
yeah, no,
no,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. Go
Well, I was just gonna say, like with kids too, it's I always am like, I mean, I could like never be a parent because like kids, I would never find the line between like you go and do it, and also like, but also like let me protect you from this. Like I mean, if the way I raised my dogs is any indication, I would just constantly be like, trial by fire, like you got it, like get on out there. And so, but the thing I love about kids is that they are very much like they just have full belief that they can do anything. Like they'll just walk out in traffic and they don't give a crap because they're like, I can do it, right? And they'll jump off of couches and they're like, someone's gonna catch me, and that's just their life. But it does break my heart that also kids are in that space where like they're so impressionable. Like you either get to like empower a human person or you tear them down so easily, you know, like
Yeah.
um so I think it's really cool that you do like work. Do you think that you see yourself doing more work with kids, either in terms of either like maybe speaking or camps or whatever?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know what that is exactly right now, but I like speaking to kids. I like public speaking, honestly. I used to be afraid of it, but now, it's not really, if you're just going up there and being yourself, you don't have to think so much. You
Yeah.
just talk. Like, you should prepare a little bit, but yeah,
What? I prefer,
re-
that's silly.
it's not that hard.
No, yeah. I mean, okay, and I just have one more question because, like, so because I know I jumped away from your experience with the mushrooms really fast, but I know that there are probably so many people who are curious, like, I've talked to some of my friends who have done it for the meditative meeting themselves practice of it, and I'm like, what was it like? And they're like, I can't describe it. I'm like, try though, and they're like, I can't, like, so are you able to describe it at all?
Yeah, I can describe it. It's one of those things that you can't fully understand unless you
Mhm.
experience it. But um so I was in a really, like, I was just in a low place. And they say you're not supposed to if you're in a bad space, but like, I don't know, it just happened. It was meant to happen.
Yeah.
So and they say, there's no such thing as a bad trip. It's just you not facing whatever you're going through. Because there was a point where, because I mean, I took a lot. It was a lot. And there was a point where I was literally having a bad trip. I was like, I don't want to be on these anymore. Like, I want to be done. Like,
Yeah.
I got mad, and I was just like pacing back and forth trying to like get un unhigh or whatever you want
Yeah.
to call it. It wasn't working until I just sat down and literally like just was completely honest with myself. And I had like this biblical moment where I was just like looking into the sun and like screaming and crying, and it was just so powerful. And that was more like the climax of the experience. But beforehand, it was dark, and it was like I was just seeing these figures. Um, it was just a very dark presence going on, and it was something that was just like over me, and I really felt it, and I was like, oh, that's there for a reason. So now
Mm.
it was like I was in this big park, and I was just walking around, and it was kind of like I was very present. I knew what I was doing. I wasn't like out of my mind, but at the same time, it felt like I was in this video game. It was like a virtual reality where I literally had to figure out. I had to travel my mind and figure out what I was going through and how to get out of it.
Huh, I like that.
Yeah, I don't know if I think that was a good way to explain it. Like a virtual reality. It was like I had those Oculus goggles on, and I was just like walking through my mind and figuring out like what the hell was going on. I was seeing past experiences. I was seeing like, what could happen in the future. It was crazy.
That is pretty crazy. That
Yeah.
is, I mean, I know that you were just saying that like you were you were struggling with a relationship at that time. Was there any other reason why you were in a bad place?
Um, just that was a big part of it, but it was also just not liking where I was um financially, uh career wise. It was, I mean, also it was the pandemic. Like, that was a big moment for the world. A lot of people were having to face themselves and like deal with
Mhm.
their families that they haven't been around in a while. Uh, my family, we went through a lot here in Tampa. It was a lot going on. So there was just a lot that I was learning about myself and like experiencing for the first time. So yeah, that was a big part of it. And the relationship though was probably like the majority of it, because when you're with somebody else, it's like you really, like, they're on your mind all the time. So it's like if you're not being 100% real with them and real with yourself, it's like you got that in the back of your mind. It's like, damn, this isn't right what I'm doing. This isn't cool. I'm not being the best version of myself for this person. So you either gotta become that within the relationship, or you got to realize that you need to go your separate ways in order for you to become that.
Yeah.
And for
absolutely.
me, that was the latter was the option for me that I chose.
I did say, like, at the beginning of like lockdown and everything, I was like, man, this time is either gonna break a lot of people or it's going to have a lot of people confront who they are and come out better. Like, it's sure there's a third group that's just going to be like, yeah, I'm just kind of hanging out and like still working, whatever, like, but I was like, there's going to be people who don't have the mechanisms to distract themselves as easily, that are going to have to like sit with themselves a lot more. And sometimes that conversation with yourself it can be tough, because I mean, a lot of people outrun themselves all day long, like, so I think that's really, really cool that you did that. And I love how you describe that, because that's just, it's very cool. Um, okay, so I'm not going to keep you much longer. I just have two questions for you.
Sure.
Question one: how do you desire to better show up for yourself?
By being more disciplined more consistently, because a lot of the times I I have all these ideas and I have all these things I need to do, and it piles up. I have my list on my phone and stuff, but it piles up to the point where I don't even really get much done. So when I make those lists and organize them properly, and I go to bed at the right time, I wake up early, that's when I'm my best. So, and I do it, like today is one of those days where I did it, and I feel great about what I've gotten done today.
Yeah.
And you helped me a lot with that because I had something to do with you. So like you were on my schedule. So it was like I had to make sure I had everything else done before. But and I have all these great days, but to do that more consistently, I know that will be better for me. So yeah, that's how I answer that.
And how do you desire to better show up for others?
Not always thinking about myself um, when I'm around other people, because a lot of the time, especially with my family, a lot of times I don't realize until I'm away from them that it's like, damn, I wasn't 100% like there for them. I was kind of trying to like be my best version of myself, but when really it's like they kind of, sometimes your family, they just need you to be there and just be there and just hear them out and just so yeah. The reason I'm like all over the place because nobody's ever asked me these questions. So
Oh, I'm happy to ask.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, just being more present when I'm around my family, because I don't get much time around them, and I don't know how much more time I have around them. So yeah, um, like for instance, my sisters will be in town for Christmas, and well, at least one of them will. I don't know if the other one's coming, but we don't have much time together. So when we do, I need to put less pressure on myself to like be the good older brother and kind of just be, and that will make me the good older brother.
Yeah.
Because yeah, because it's tough. Like my relationship with my sisters is tough because their dad raised me mostly because I was older, and now he's not in any of our lives. So
Oh,
it
I'm sorry.
sucks. Yeah. I mean, it's life. But I feel bad for them because that was their only dad. Like I always had another dad.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know what that feels like to literally be another Black girl without a dad. Like that sucks.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't know. It's sometimes I put pressure on myself to kind of fill that space when really that's not even realistic. I'll never be able to do that. I just need to be their big brother. So yeah, that's it.
If I may, as the baby of my family, I have an older brother, older sister. I'm the baby 4 years younger than my sister, six from my brother. And I will say that the best thing that my brother does that makes it feel like, oh, like my big brother is honestly when he just like texts me about random things. Like if he's like, oh, hey, like I listened to your podcast, like nice job, little kid. And I'm like, oh, my brother, like, but yeah, like, I mean, I know like, cause I told you earlier about how my parents separated or divorced. And I think that my brother probably was in a similar spot too, where he felt like he had to take a little bit more responsibility on or show up a little more steadfast than anybody was asking him to, but 1,000%, like a big brother is really, really cool to have. So your sisters are very lucky. Um, and, and you should be proud of yourself for seeking to show up for them. So that's very cool. Yeah, of course. One more time, I would like you to share all your stuff in case anybody doesn't remember. I mean, obviously it will be linked, but in case anybody's listening, please share all of your things.
Is this on YouTube?
No, wait, huh?
Oh.
No. So the podcast. On YouTube? No, not yet. Audio. Because I feel like if I do on YouTube, then like no one's gonna like listen. I mean, I'm sure I've listened. Anyway, there's audio.
No, if I needed to say like link in description.
But, yeah. Don't be Troy.
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at Troy Blyden, on TikTok at Troy Blyden, on YouTube at Troy Blyden. You can find me on Twitter at T Blyden. You can shop Imperfect merch, t-shirts and hoodies. New drop coming in 2 weeks. TroyBlyden.com. And Paid Day Off podcast on YouTube, soon to be on all streaming platforms. And be on the lookout for the Harlem Globetrotters. We might be in your city. Don't hesitate to hit me up, for tickets or whatever. If I'm in your city, we can connect. I got you.
For the twatters. Are you? Yeah. Don't say it the way I say it. No, I thank you so much. I'm very happy for the conversation. Thank you for showing up for the conversation, sharing with my audience about you, because I definitely learned so much about you today. So thank you. Keep being a role model, even if you're not trying to be or whatever. If you don't care about what people think, great. But also, you're doing a great job. So keep doing that. And thank you again.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Of course. Hold on, my man.